You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Hey y'all, spooky season is here. And if you're looking for a show to whet your appetite for a little haunted history, then I'd like to invite you to check out Southern Gothic, a chart-topping history podcast that explores some of the most infamous legends, folklore, ghost stories, and hauntings of the American South. We've covered all sorts of stuff from the Bell Witch of Tennessee to the disappearance of the Confederate submarine, the H.L. Hunley. Not to mention our deep dives into the local lore of some of America's oldest and most haunted cities, like New Orleans, Charleston, and St. Augustine. So, if you're ready for a little good old-fashioned Halloween storytelling with a commitment to quality historical research, then be sure to check out Southern Gothic today. It's available now on all your favorite podcast apps.
Hello, delicious friends, and welcome to Who Did What Now, the history podcast that's not your history class, with me, your host, Katie Charlwood, history harlot and reader of books. I was supposed to be talking about something else this week, but there's a lot of referencing, cross-referencing, fact-checking, there's a lot going on, and some stuff has been happening in the background. There's things coming that I can't talk about yet, but I think you're going to be excited. So, to start off with, I got a few things to talk about before we get into today's show. I want to thank everybody who's been sending me 5-star reviews. You're so amazing. I love you. And I'm hoping, dear God, I'm hoping that the sound quality is actually better in this episode. I had changed it before. I'll tell you what happened, right? I had somebody email me consistently complaining about background noise, and I've got an auditory processing disorder, so I was thinking maybe I'm just not hearing it, right? I thought maybe it was me. Maybe I should not be editing my own stuff. So I was like, all right, okay, well, I'll work to remove all this background noise. And apparently all I did was make everything quieter. It sounds fab on my computer, absolutely fab. But everywhere else, not really. So I'm told apparently once the ads are added on from, the big boss says that it's just not working out for people. So I'm sort of reverting back to my OG settings and hoping that this is going to work for you. And if you're annoyed by the background noise, listen, I'm doing my best, right? Figure it out. And that's that. Yeah, stuff's happening behind the scenes. I opened a merch store on TeePublic, link down below. So anything from the Yeet the Rich section, all of that, all the proceeds, everything I get from that is going to be sent to Operation Olive Branch, who I've partnered with to get Gara and her family out of Rafah. So on the Palestinian side, the border is closed, but on the Egypt side, it's open. So to get the Rafah crossing open, I don't know. I'm kind of trying to figure out and see what if I need to send an angry worded letter of complaint to politicians or something. Someone out there knows more than me about this. And so I'm trying to keep in the loop and trying to put pressure on, the elected officials to, do the ethical and right thing, follow, the whole human rights situation just a wee bit. But in the meantime, I'm just partnering with Operation Olive Branch, doing my best to raise funds so that when they can cross, they can cross, and it made me so angry. But so my entire Patreon this month, which is only 200 quid, I know, but my entire Patreon is going to Operation Olive Branch, and I'm just trying to do my best. I've got their GoFundMe in the link down below. Hopefully we can do something. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I'm hitting everything on my list today. I'm trying to be organised, which is, for me, really tough. Or not at all. I'm either extremely organised or just chaos. So yeah, I raise money for Operation Olive Branch. We have the store that's set up, so it's got the other stuff up there too. And I don't know, I might end up just like putting all of it on, like sending all of this month's stuff to it. And I guess I'm just going to see how much is there. I mean, if there isn't too much from the Eat the Rich stuff, then I'll just shove the rest on it. And there's so many people online actually, because I did my little Eat the Rich video. I remade it. And people are like, oh, this should be a beat. Like, seriously, someone make it a beat. Make it a dance track. I think it would work. Oh, my super secret project. It's not even super secret. It's just, I have news coming and I can't tell you what it is. I just can't tell you. And I've got my Glasgow show. The last one was sold out. This one's in Blue Dog. It's accessible. Y'all should come see me. Come see me. Because I'm cool. And I know things. And yeah, I think that's everything this week. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, quit your jibber jabber and fact me. In fact you I will. But first, we've got to get our source on. Our sources are The Great Lady, a biography of Barbara Villiers, mistress of Charles II, by Margaret Gilmore. The Royal Whore, Barbara Villiers, Countess of Castlemaine, by Alan Andrews. The Diary of Samuel Pepys, by Samuel Pepys. Mischief-Making Mistresses at the Court of Charles II, by Claire Bucknell. And of course our old favourites, biography.com and history.com. Are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then let's begin. So I originally did this at the live show in Brighton at the Caroline of Brunswick on the 26th of April, 2024. Now, I was originally holding this out for Patreon, but I didn't want to leave you without anything this week, and with everything going on, we're a little bit behind. So, let's talk about Barbara Palmer, who I have simply put down as official hot mess. I mean, I feel that on a personal level. Now, you know when you hear about someone in history and you're thinking that sounds, like exaggeration, that sounds a little bit made up. No one's really that bad. I assure you, delicious friends, she is. So Barbara Palmer, she is born Barbara Villiers on the 27th of November, 1640, in Westminster. She is born to the Viscount Grandison and Mary Baining. Now Barbara here, she's from good stock. Her dad was the half-nephew of George Villiers, who you may remember as the first Duke of Buckingham and King James I's lover boy. Her mother Mary was a co-heiress. She was from the mercantile class. So basically, their money was in trading. Their money was in goods. They were merchants. So she's off this side, so she's got ahead enough for just commerce, really. Now, when she's 15 years old, she marries George Villiers. She's 15. She gets married. And pretty sharpish after this, Barbara is born. Now, when Barbara is 3 years old, the Viscount Grandison dies. Which is unfortunate. It's during the First English Civil War. Now, see, what happens is he gets injured on the battlefield. And it's not the battlefield itself that kills him. He actually dies several days later from gangrene. Because, not the most sterile of places, the battlefield. And so he dies, leaving the family in absolutely massive debt. because he funded a regiment himself. Not funded by the crown, not funded by, royalists. No. Himself. So all his money is going on horses and the bare essentials, buckets and buckets of bullets. Because his family are big royalists. But they are now at this point broke as shit. So Mary, Barbara's mother, who is now at this point an 18-year-old widow, she marries, pretty sharpish, to her late husband's cousin, Charles Villiers. Keeping it in the family. Now, you know what I've said. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Your family tree should not be a wreath. But anyway, they're getting by, and they manage to live in London, so they're not exactly begging for scraps. So it's basically like relative poverty. Like, they're poor for being in London. But like, if they were somewhere else that wasn't as affluent, they'd probably be pretty fancy. Now, in 1649, things take a turn for the worse. That's Barbara's now 9 years old at this point, or ish. See, King Charles I, King of England, he's beheaded. Cromwell and his cronies are ruling. They don't like anything really that invigorates the soul. So no like music or dancing or art or, decent fiction books, none of that stuff. Now, I would say they were miserable as sin, but sinning wasn't allowed. Do you think I was going to go through this and not get a Charles II song from Horrible Histories in this? Pfft, friends. Delicious, delicious friends. Of course I am. So, the family, the Villiers 2.0, they are staunch royalists, and they transferred their support from the dead king to his son, Charles II. Now, many royals, they fled for the Netherlands, but the Villiers family, they stayed, and they stayed in London. And now they do this thing, which, I'll be honest with you, now, I'm not saying it's creepy, yeah? I'm just saying that I wouldn't personally have a secret shrine to the Prince of Wales in my basement. Like, down in the cellar where nobody goes. Nobody needs that. I almost went into the beginning of, like, Funny Bones, which is a stellar TV show and should be brought back, I'm just saying. So every year, like a cult, they crowded down in their darkened cellar on Charles's birthday and would drink to his health. I mean, I feel like you could at least bring a candle down there. Like, why are you down in the dark? It just a bit excessive. So they're living in this time where the Puritans are ruling, and they exist, but they didn't. I mean, they tried to ban fun, but they couldn't stop it. Like, you know how you can ban abortion, except you can't. All you're doing is banning safe abortion. Because it's still going to happen. It's just going to be worse. So, like, they're trying to stop fun happening, and all they're doing is making fun more salacious, and it's becoming just a bit more tantalizing, and the fun they're having is going to be maybe a bit more raucous because of it. So people would have parties, they would have music, they would have their own little society going about doing what they do. And the next generation of royalists, so Barbara and her ilk, they ran in their own circles too. So like her parents, they would meet other royalists like on the down low and have like wee secret parties and like, oh, I'm going over to like Lord Featherington's house. Did I name someone from Bridgerton? I did. Shut up. It's fine. I'm going to see, I don't know, Lucy. And then you're not at Lucy's house because you're out drinking in a field. Except it's not a field. It's somebody's secret damp cellar. So they're having these wee parties and whatnot. But then so are the younger crowd. Now, teenage Barbara, I mean, she should be a decent match. She's, like I said, of good stock. Like, she's kind of side-ish related to one of the king's favourites from way back. And she is absolutely gorgeous. She's got auburn hair, dark heavy-set eyes, full lips, a pale complexion. She's voluptuous. Not voluptuous, because I learned those are two different things, and I consistently mix them up. Like, conflation, sensation. Like, absolutely. So even though Barbara is of the correct pedigree and she's, hot as fuck, she's also broke as shit. So the eligible men were not going down on one knee. And so teenage Barbara, 15 to 16-year-old, she falls for a rick, a cad, an arsehole, really. The Earl of Chesterfield, a 20-year-old widower. Because of course he is. Because of course he's a 20-year-old widower. It's this period of time. It's the 1700s. It's the 1600s. For historian Katie, you're not great with dates. I'm aware. I mix them up too. But I know what I mean, which is not great for everybody else. So yeah, it's the 1700s. No, fuck. It's the 1600s, damn it. And he's sticking his spoon in every honeypot, right? But she is in love with him in the way that a 16-year-old is in love with anybody. Like, she's writing him letters about how she adores him and how he's amazing and how he's wonderful and how her heart will burst and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, yeah, you're cool too. Like, he makes it really clear that she is like one of many, that she's not special by any stretch of the imagination, but she's so willing to settle because she's, 16 and so full of hormones. And it's not, I don't wish this for Barbara. I think she deserves better. For now, at this point, before she becomes a dick. But yeah. In 1659, the 19-year-old Barbara marries Roger Palmer. And they're chalk and cheese. He's Catholic, like super well proper Catholic, and she's Anglican. So they're not the same religion, and this is a country that has fought many wars, many sectarian wars based on this very situation. Like, this is not a crossover that should happen within this time period, especially. Like, even up until recently, it was weird. You used to have to get a special dispensation from the Pope. It was a whole situation. But yeah, so she marries him, and his dad is so against the marriage, like Palmer Sr. Like, he states that she would make him the most miserable man in the world, which is definitely words of encouragement from your father about your fiancé. That's nice. Yeah. So they are engaged, and it's fairly decent because, she really should be betrothed at this point because of her social standing. But yeah. So meanwhile, she's married him, but she's still continuing her affair with the Earl of Chesterfield. And they're married like a year, and she ends up travelling to the court in the Netherlands. So her and her family, they all go. So they go to the court in the Netherlands where Charles is camping out. Because you see, Cromwell, he died the year before. He died the year before they got married. So 1658, he dies, and since then, it's an absolute shit show. So, like, one person gets in charge, and then another person gets in charge, and it's just shit, one after another. Like his son takes it, but then it doesn't really work out, and it's a lot of bollocks, really. And then the restoration happens, where it's like they restore the monarchy. Basically, Parliament and King Charles II agree to work together. They're like, hey, you can be king as long as you don't have, like, ultimate control and power. Like, this is a collaborative effort. And he goes, do I still get to have parties and wear really cool clothes? And they're like, yeah, sure, no worries, buddy. And he goes, okay. So they agree to work together in 1660, and everything's great. And he travels back to England. So Charles II, King Charles II, is a randy fellow. I don't know if you know this. So he's just an absolute horn dog, and Barbara Palmer is an absolute smoke show with an insatiable appetite. She was also tempestuous, volatile, egregious. She was even spoken of by John Evelyn, who called her the curse of the nation because she ruled the palace with her moods. So basically, if Barbara was having a bad day, every fucking person in her vicinity was having a bad day. So in 1661, Charles makes Robert Palmer the Earl of Castlemaine, which sounds nice. It sounds like, he's doing him a favour. But it's more like backhanded, because the way that he makes it happen is he states that the title could only be passed down to any children with Barbara. So the title wouldn't necessarily go down Robert's line if he were to marry someone else. Like, the title dies with him. Well, dies. And then is passed down to Barbara's children. Which is almost as if Charles is laying the groundwork there for something specific. I wonder what it could be. I wonder. So Barbara and Robert, the Palmers, they don't really see each other too much after this. Barbara is, like, pregnant, and in 1661 she gives birth to her daughter, Anne Palmer, and Robert claims her, which is fine, because that's a thing you have to do, like a man would have to do when a woman gave birth, is the father would have to claim the child so that the child was not illegitimate, or, as some might say, born on the wrong side of the blanket. Then she gets pregnant again, and he's like, sure, maybe, I guess. And Charles Palmer, he's born. Now, when Charles Palmer is born, her firstborn son, she whisks him away to be christened in the Church of England. Now, she gets christened the Church of England because she's Anglican. Like, that's her religion. So instead of making sure he's baptized in a Catholic ceremony, she just takes him away. And she does it. Well, here's the thing. Does she do it to secure her son's safety in this sort of tumultuous existence in, the Restoration, because she grew up through Puritanism, you know what I mean? And it's like, is that it? Or was she just trying to piss off Robert? Maybe she took a spite. Maybe she just felt like doing it. I mean, whom's to say? But most of the time when they were in each other's company, Robert Palmer and Barbara, they were just straight up ignoring each other. They were just not paying attention. And it was really awkward for everyone else because they would just pretend like the other one wasn't there. Which is just, were they sending a maid to run between the two of them? As a conversation? Or were they just plain ignoring them? I have so many questions. We only get snippets of this, but I wish I knew more. And things with Barbara, like I said before, you're maybe it's an exaggeration. Maybe it's propaganda. Nobody could be like this. She's not that bad. She is. I assure you, she is. But we'll get back to that after this little commercial break.
I'm Helena Bonham Carter, and for BBC Radio 4, this is History's Secret Heroes, a new series of rarely heard tales from World War II.
They had no idea that she was Britain's top female codebreaker.
We'll hear of daring risk-takers.
What she was offering to do was to ski in over the high Carpathian mountains.
Of course it was dangerous, but danger was his friend.
Subscribe to History's Secret Heroes wherever you get your podcasts.
Everybody shush! William Shatner has something to say.
Cat and Jethro, box of oddities.
What do you do when the woman you love dies? Well, of course you dig her up and you live with her.
Aww.
The show examines weird things.
There are plenty of old photographs from this time period of children out in the streets playing in and among the dead horse carcasses.
Oh, I miss those days. Things used to be so much simpler.
Cat and Jethro.
Then there's the urine wheel, which sounds like a really bad game show.
Thing done weird things. Cat and Jethro, box of oddities. That is really mysterious.
Join Cat and Jethro Gilligan Toth for the strange, the bizarre, the unexpected, as they lift the lid and cautiously peer inside the Box of Oddities.
The Webby Award-winning Box of Oddities podcast from Airwave Media.
And we're back. So King Charles, he has to get married, as one does, because he's now the king. He has to have legitimate heirs. And so he does. He has a political alliance, and he marries Catherine de Braganza. Now, Catherine of Braganza, people act like she's this weepy, wilty little flower, but she's tougher than you think. But when she shows up in England, to be its queen and to produce, heirs for the king, she arrives in England and all the nobles, what they're supposed to do is have these bonfires outside. So every single house, they're supposed to have these sort of bonfires to welcome the new queen. And Samuel Pepys noticed that every noble did, except one Barbara Palmer. And it gets worse, right? So when the king and queen are on their honeymoon, Barbara settles down in Hampton Court Palace, which is the residence of the royal couple, right? She goes to Hampton Court to give birth to the king's illegitimate son. Now, I've heard a mark in your territory, but Barbara, it's their fucking honeymoon. Seriously. What? Opinions, Barbara. I got opinions. So, and the king, he is so I don't want to say enamored. He's more lustified. He's so into Barbara that he wants to make it official. Now, like the maîtresse. Nope, I pronounced that wrong. The official mistress, right? So in the French court, there's an official mistress, but like it wasn't an actual position. Well, I mean, you know what I mean. Like it wasn't an actual position in sort of the English court. Like it wasn't a thing, just because, you know, the repressedness. So he's trying to make this official title for Barbara, which doesn't exist. Like, not in this locale, and he's trying to make it happen. So what he does is, instead of that, he decides Barbara was to be a lady of the bedchamber to Catherine de Braganza, the Queen. And Catherine, she is pissed. She is livid, friends. Livid. Because she knows who Barbara is. And Barbara is an arsehole. Like, she's rude to her. She's disrespectful. She does whatever the fuck she wants. And Catherine is so mad about this that she just threatens to return to Portugal. She's like, nope, screw this, fuck that, fuck you, fuck off, I'm off. Like, she is so enraged and so insulted at this. And she just tells Charles II that she's gonna get the heck out of Dodge. Now, here's the thing. Charles, like his father, did not like to be denied. So he sends away most of her Portuguese retinue, like her advisors, her ladies in waiting, like anything close to her. He just gets rid of them. And he's a bit of a dick himself. He really is. But he makes this happen because he doesn't want to be denied by anyone, because he's the king, you know? And not that it really mattered anyway, because Barbara, even though she was a lady of the bedchamber, right, she didn't really do the job. Like, she got an allowance, she got extra money, but she didn't actually do what she was supposed to do, which I think Catherine was probably quite happy about, because her and Barbara, they would feud. They feuded a lot. Like, you should make that, Ryan Murphy, make that your next feud. Barbara Palmer and Catherine de Braganza. Let's see it. So, yeah, luckily, she just took the payment, she took the money and run. Like, she didn't actually do, you know, her duty. And it's not great for Barbara. Like, the same year as well, a rival appears, and Barbara has to work to stay in the king's favour. Because who enters court but Frances Stuart, who's 15 years old, by the way, and she is, to quote Pepys, the prettiest girl in all the world. Samuel, this is a 15-year-old that you're talking about, okay? Just bear that in mind, you creep. Like, honestly, I mean, Samuel Pepys is so weird, though, because he was talking about when he saw Barbara Villiers, or Barbara Palmer, in church. He sees her in church one day, and he sees her, swear to fuck, this is in one of his massive diaries, right? He sees her, and he is so overcome by her just sexiness that he just comes in his pants, and he has to, like, adjust his breeches, like, in church. I feel like that, I mean, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but I feel like that's a specific kink here for Pepys. And I don't want to kink shame anyone, but also, what? And then, I mean, did he write a diary hoping no one would read it, or did he write a diary hoping people would read it? Because that's another thing. Anywho, off track. So Barbara is a devious bitch. She sets up this fake wedding for everyone to admire their beauty together. So her and this 15-year-old girl, she's like, I'll be the groom, you be the bride, and everyone will admire us. It'll be like a little play, be fantastic, right? So once the ceremony is over and they play their parts, and there's the, the going to the bedchamber to be wed, right? The wedding bed. The devious, sneaky, conniving Barbara switches places with the king himself. Because King Charles, he is, infatuated with Frances, but Frances does not want to be the king's mistress. She doesn't want it. She wants a good marriage match. She doesn't want this. And she just refuses to, do the bedding. She refuses to shag him. She's like, no thank you, So in 1663, the Queen gets really fucking ill. Charles is, again, besotted with Frances, and he's going around telling everybody who'll listen that if Queen Catherine dies, he's going to marry Frances Stuart. Which spells trouble for Barbara. So if Catherine dies, it's a shit show for everyone. Barbara's fucked. She can't compete with Frances, the demure, beautiful, lovely Frances. Not an option. Luckily for everyone, Catherine survives. Yay! And at this point, Barbara, just in pure retaliation, good for her the Queen's alive, because she's fucked otherwise, she converts to Catholicism. She's had her kids baptised or christened, Church of England, and now she's just fucking converting to Catholicism, a religion the king does not follow. And so this becomes a whole issue, and the court are she can't be a lady in waiting, she can't do this, she's Catholic. And Charles is listen, I'm interested in ladies' bodies, not their souls. And the court is what? No. But also, nah. So, the same year the Queen almost dies, Henry Fitzroy is born. See, now that's really interesting to me, is during this period, the number one cause of death for women, childbirth. Number 2, husbands. So, yeah, she's popping out puppies. She's giving birth with very little issue. She's supposed to, oh God, what's the word? When you're supposed to, cocoon and hide for, so many weeks, months after having kids. Barbara's no, up and at them. So she has her kids, does, the basic amount of resting, the least amount you could possibly do, and then up she goes. Just not missing court, not missing the fun, not missing none of that, right? And she's having all these kids, but she's still seen as very desirable, and she's doing it somehow without dying, which is great. It's interesting when you think of, I'm not going to say how easy she had it, because childbirth is excruciating and just unpleasant for everyone involved. But she's doing all right. But she ends up having kids after kids after kids with King Charles. So they have the surname Fitzroy, which means child of the king. So 1664 Charlotte is born. 1665 George. One a year. She's doing really well. It's after this where she just causes more of a fucking scene, because she starts posing for these paintings. So she's being the Madonna and Child, because big religious paintings, and she's in all these artworks, and it becomes the talk of the court, because she's just out posing for all these portraits. And Catherine Braganza, she's just last nerve, really. She's just getting irritated consistently, and she ends up conspiring with the Earl of Clarendon, who just so happens to be Barbara's cousin. Now, Barbara is like, fuck this for a game of soldiers, and she bandies up with a bunch of the other mistresses, right, of King Charles II. Like, they all get together to get him dismissed from court in 1667. But, like, it's fine that King Charles has, like, mistresses, because Barbara is also having her own fun. So, she's got her own personal wing at Hampton Court. Like, she's got a full fucking wing, which completely fell into disrepair, actually. So when Mary and William came in, they had to, like, replace, like, her wing, because she just left it in such a disarray, because she had all this money, but she just kept fucking shit up and not paying for upkeep. Anyway, she's having all this fun. She's shagging an acrobat, which is a fun experience, but also, again, family tree, wreath, family tree, not a wreath. She's shagging her second cousin, John Churchill. Yes, of that fame. See, this is how Princess Diana and Winston Churchill are related. Yep, you heard me, you held me. So anyway, all through this, Barbara, she's living her best life, she's having a great time, and she's helping herself to the king's privy purse. And she's accepting bribes from dignitaries. Whether she does anything with that, again, whom's to say, but she does it anyway. And the same year that she ousts Clarendon, right, she decides she's going to get rid of Francis once and for all. So Barbara convinces the king to surprise Francis Stuart in her bedchamber. But when he gets there and opens the door, she's in bed with his cousin, who's also called Charles. And it's a scandal, right? And so Francis ends up marrying, like, other Charles. But here's the thing, by the way, at this point in time, if a couple had agreed to get married, if they were engaged, if they were betrothed, right, then as far as God is concerned, like, you're allowed to shag, because you've made a promise to marry, which is as good as marrying. Like, it's a thing. But yeah, that happened, and Charles is just like done. King Charles is done with Francis. Cousin Charles is good with Francis. But back to Barbara. She's shagging Churchill, and she gifts him £5,000. £5,000. And the king, he's asked about this. He's like, well, look at what she's doing. She's taking money and she's giving it to this lover of hers. And the king's like, yeah, young man must have something to live on. And he's still gifting her things like the Duchess title, the Duchess of Cleveland, and Phoenix Park in Dublin, which is nice. She also gets Nonsuch Palace in 1670. So she is the Baroness Nonsuch. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but I like the fact that it's Nonsuch, and I will continue. So 2 years later, Barbara Fitzroy is born, and she looks not quite like Charles. She's actually looking a wee bit more like John Churchill. And so the king is like, I don't think that's my baby. I'm not claiming it. And Barbara, trigger warning, murder, child abuse, possible, threat. Skip forward 20 seconds. She threatens to smash the baby's brains off of a mantle, right? If he doesn't claim the child as his own. And so he's like, come to Daddy. So he ends up begging for forgiveness in front of the entire court. Like, Barbara. Infanticide? We're using infanticide now, Barbara? So things are fine-ish for the next couple of years, but then in 1673, the Test Act banned Catholics from holding office. Now, remember when she converted to Catholicism on a whim to cause a scene? Oh, looks like that came back to bite her in the arse. So she loses her position as Lady of the Bedchamber, and this gets given to Louise de Curie, who is really nice. She's one of the other mistresses of King Charles II, but like she gets on pretty well with Catherine de Braganza because she's not ostentatious, she's not overt, she's really fucking polite, which after dealing with Barbara I can understand would be nice, refreshing even. So Barbara is expecting to, have King Charles sort it out for her. She thinks it's all going to be resolved, but he dismisses her and tells her to live quietly and cause no scandal. Your Majesty, sir, have you met her? So, in another 3 years, Barbara takes her youngest kids to Paris. So the older kids, they stay there. Because I think her and Charles, she had most of his children than anybody else. And Catherine Braganza, she had fertility issues, whether it was as a result of her illness or whether it's just old-timey methods. Again, whom's to say? So she ends up travelling to Paris with her kids, but then she returns in 1682. Because she's got some debts. Like a lot of people, like Neil Gwynn, for example, big gamblers, but not really lucky. So she ends up having Nonsuch Palace pulled down and sold the materials to cover her gambling debts. Now, why she needed to sell the materials and not the palace, I don't know. She ends up selling Phoenix Park as well. She sells all the shit he got her because she's going to pay off all these debts, right? She's got loan sharks coming after her, but he shatter her kneecaps and shit. And she's like, no, I'll get you the money. I'm good for it. Let me just tear down this fucking palace first. Can we fix it? No, we fucking can't, Bob. No, we can't. So, it's 1685, and the king and Barbara, they reconcile. And they spend one last evening together. The week before he dies. So he's making the rounds as if he knew his time was coming. And she's having a good time. They get one last night. And things are great. For 1 week. It's after this that she starts an affair with Cardinal Goodman, who's an actor, not a cardinal. His name is Cardinal. Yeah, no, that's right. His name is Cardinal. Fun fact. And he has a bad reputation. And the next year, she gives birth to a son. We know nothing about it. And in 1705, wait, I said 1783 earlier. That is not what I meant. I meant 1703, not 1783. That's too far. I've gone too far forward. No. Yeah, so, yes. So 1705, Roger Palmer, he dies. And now, because he's super Catholic, he doesn't divorce her. He just stays married, but far away, to be unbothered. And so he dies and she's finally allowed to remarry. And she does. At the age of 65, Barbara marries Major General Robert Fielding. And they marry, and it's fairly sharpish afterwards that she discovers his scandalous secret. He was already married. See, Fielding here was a nefarious fortune hunter after her money. Now, and you're thinking, he's already married. I wonder when it could have been. And the thing is, he got married 2 weeks before he married her. See, he married another woman 2 weeks before that wedding because he thought she was an heiress. She was not, because she thought he had a fortune. He did not. It's like an Ouroboros of scamming. They just screwed each other and not in a good way. So he is, a dick. And Barbara's just not having it. She's 65. She doesn't have time for this shit. And so she cuts off his allowance. And he responds with, direct quote, barbarous ill treatment. And Barbara again is like, fuck this for a game of soldiers. I'm not taking that. And so she takes him to court. Not for beating her, of course, because who would listen? But she takes him to court for bigamy, which she can prove. And so she ends up going to live her wee life in her home, Walpole House in Chiswick Mall. She goes back there, stays there for a while. And in 1709, at the age of, 69, Barbara passes away from heart failure after suffering from dropsy, which is edema of the legs. And so ends the life of Barbara Palmer, official hot mess. Now, if you liked my telling of this story, please feel free to rate and review 5 stars. I would appreciate it because I could just do with the confidence best. That'd be great, actually. But yeah, that'd be amazing. You can find me on all the socials, links down below. And of course, because my voice is going today. And of course, DM me, email. Like, I love a chat. Like, if I'm not really busy, if I'm not overwhelmed, I'm happy to have a talk. You know that. Just don't send me memes or reels. Like, I won't click on a reel if you've sent it to me unless I know the exact context of it. Because if I don't have context, I won't read it. But yeah, I'm trying to think now. Recommendations. For reading, I'm going to suggest The Covent Garden Ladies by Hallie Rubenhold. For watching, listen, I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm doing it. For watching, I'm going to recommend Bridgerton Season 3. Don't care. Don't care. I'm telling you. It's what it is. It's what it is. Bridgerton Season 3. It's just pretty and fun and just enjoy it. Not everything has to be super serious. And for listening, you know what? I'm going to suggest my TikTok mutual, Janet Devlin's new song, Emotional Rodeo. And with that, I'm going to say good night. Adios. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen, my friends. Bye-bye.